they had that big, Obama event, and I snuck into the national press area, and I ate all their Chick-fil-A, and somebody called me out and yelled at me, and I grabbed 2 sandwiches and just walked off. Gave them to the local press corps. I'm like the Robin Hood of the local press corps, really.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
Welcome back to Politics Unplugged, and as always, I am honored to be joined today by the great Hank Stephenson.
Honorable, please.
The honorable.
Yes.
Hank
You're
Stephenson
gonna be
of the agenda, who's fond of stealing fast food and distributing to those who have none.
Robin Hood of the local press corps, as you missed before this.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We're bringing him in today to just get us kind of like, give us a sense of where politics are, right? Where's the election at right now in Arizona? Because I'm told every 2 years, every 4 years, voters don't pay attention to politics until Labor Day.
Yeah.
Well, we're through Labor Day, so I guess now people are starting to pay attention. Although something tells me that the things that happened over this crazy summer, that people were paying attention to, assassination attempts, presidents stepping down, new nominees, taking their party's mantle.
I was just thinking about how quickly we got over all of that. Like, we're just into new normal.
Right? I mean,
I'm surprised you mentioned the assassination attempt because you're the first person to mention it in like 2 weeks.
It's weird, right? Yeah. It's like they moved on so quickly from that. It's like
we had a 1-2, and then it was like a whole new campaign, which was actually pretty exciting, but kind of threw off the counting we had been doing beforehand.
Yeah, because like in Milwaukee, when I was in Milwaukee.
Oh, really? Were you in Milwaukee with the National Press Corps? Did you see anyone there? Lester? Did you bump into Lester?
No, that was That was Chicago. Kept bumping into my computer. So I was working in the stairwell. As he was rising up above us plebes to his fancy work area above us.
In his elevator?
I think he floated.
Oh, nice. I
think he floated up there.
Check back.
No, but it was funny because in Milwaukee at the Republican convention that happened shortly after that assassination attempt, I mean, there was a level of confidence, almost cockiness with Republicans there that this was locked up.
Oh, I was about to invest in some private prisons, some oil companies. Like, we're we're gonna make the best of this ride here.
Yeah, it was done. It was a done deal. And you ask anybody, it was just. Yeah. It's over with because Biden was just plummeting in the polls.
Everyone had their ears taped up.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. At least everybody in the Arizona delegation that one night. But, yeah, it was a weird summer. I feel like this time around, like, voters may want to take a pause and take a beat and just take a break from all of this stuff heading into the November election. But, wanted to get your sense out there. Let's start with the presidential race. I mean,
yeah, I'm down for a pause, a beat, and just lay low until.
How about the agenda in Politics Unplugged? We just report on football for like a month.
I don't know anything about football. Every
that doesn't stop.
Reference. I get an angry comment from somebody like
that does not stop.
That's not a batting average.
Most people from talking about most things on
true.
Social media. You can be like, I read an article once on this, so this makes me an expert.
I didn't, though.
You could.
I could
anytime.
Read a football
It's in the power of this phone.
Are we in football season?
Yes, we are.
All right.
Sport ball event is starting.
Fall sport ball.
Okay, cool. Is heating up
on that.
But where are we? Let's presidential race. I mean, what's the thought now? It seems like polls have it pretty tight. In Arizona, what's your sense
these days?
Always these days. What's your sense? Is the momentum with one side or the other, or is it just kind of a reset?
I think both sides have momentum, and that in itself is something of a reset. Because who was going out there super stoked to vote for Joe Biden? Like Joe Biden's soldiers were, and there were a number of Democrats who thought he did a good job. He deserves a second term. He was a good president, but nobody was riled up about voting for Joe Biden. And I think what like that reset does is, reset that enthusiasm gap where a lot of Democrats are having, a lot of young Democrats are for the first time ever having somebody that they can vote for instead of just voting against. And I think that's like incredibly powerful and truly, resets the entire race to the point where, like you said, 3 months ago, whenever that was, time is flying at this point, but I would have, put money on Donald Trump winning the presidency again. At this point, I would definitely not put money on that.
No, it's a real toss-up. And the enthusiasm that she was able to create in such a short period of time is in itself like just really amazing.
She and her media partners.
Of course, yes. No, it was. It's historic. I mean, like we'd never seen anything even remotely like it. And she packs Desert Diamond Arena, with walls.
I didn't think that was even like possible. Like I would not have guessed that even replacing Joe Biden with Kamala Harris would have had that reaction. As we were all kind of looking, could this happen? Will this happen? Will it change the dynamics of the race? That's what blew me away, is how quickly and how dramatically it changed the dynamics of the race.
Yeah, and at least for Arizona, but I'm still not convinced that Harris is going to win Arizona.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
Regardless. It's just like, people here, Republicans, they love themselves. They're Donald Trump, man.
They did in 2016, not so much in 2020.
Ooh. Unpack where you think they're at now.
Back closer to 2016 levels, but I think that there's still, a certain amount of drop off. And I don't know, obviously the floor for Donald Trump is pretty high. There are some people who are going to follow him if he shoots somebody on Fifth Avenue. But that's not everyone. And I think that, we had a high 2016, we had a low 2020. We're having a middling. Yeah. And, that could be enough one way or another to flip Arizona. I don't know. But.
Well, I feel like both, the floor and the ceiling reference is interesting because I just think his floor and his ceiling aren't that far apart.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I feel like, on a national level, this feels like, again, I keep making back the comparison to Joe Arpaio.
Yeah.
When he was running for the umpteenth time when he finally lost, it was like by that point, who was undecided about Joe Arpaio in particularly his later campaigns? Like you had an opinion about him one way or the other, and it was a pretty hot opinion.
You say later campaigns as if they've ended. Most recent campaigns and future campaigns, I believe, is the proper terminology.
For sheriff, I say his later campaigns for sheriff, because I still get the press releases.
Oh, I appreciate you forwarding those every time. They make the agenda about 1 out of 3.
Did the one about him issuing a challenge to Kamala Harris?
No.
Okay.
No, I figured he really wanted attention on that one, so I wasn't going to play into that.
What was he challenging Harris to a debate?
I read about a third of that, and I was like, nope, not going any farther. I've got things to do today. So
challenging her to
away
a
from
debate
that.
to say it to his face. But I feel like his ceiling and his floor are like pretty close. On that, and that could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. I don't know, but like, who's really persuadable anymore?
I have a story on my story list that is just like persuadable or turnout, and like
It's all turnout now.
What's that?
It's all turnout now,
right? Like I don't know how many people are genuinely unconvinced who are going to vote. I think if you plan on voting, probably by now you know who you're voting for. And sure, there are some people, I guess, probably who exist who like legitimately don't know who they're voting for. My money's on those people don't turn out.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it's all about turnout anymore. It's like, at this state of the race, particularly when you get someone like a Trump in there.
Yeah, because
you're either for it or against it.
Yes, you've already made up your mind at this point.
Yeah.
You can have feelings one way or another about Kamala that are undecided, but when it comes to Trump, we've had long enough of Trump in this public spotlight for almost anyone to have made up their decision, whether that's I don't like his tweets, but I like his policies, whatever people are coming to. They came to that 4, 6, 8 years ago.
Yeah, and that's why the enthusiasm is really, really important right now because, those people who showed up at Desert Diamond Arena, those people are voting. They're amped.
Yeah.
The people who show up to the Trump rallies, they're amped. They're going there, And that's why you keep seeing, say like J.D. Vance came this week, and he's just doing raw appeal to the base, talking about immigration.
Maybe some border.
Maybe
talk about the border.
Throw in some border. But it's just raw politics stuff, just to get the base out there, keep them motivated, and keep them engaged. And
the show goes on.
Yeah. So that's interesting. But
how about Kerry?
Oh, let's talk about Kerry. Why is Ruben Gallego? Why was he so far outperforming Joe Biden? I think he's still pretty much he's still outperforming Kamala Harris in his race against Kerry Lake. Why is that?
I think Ruben Gallego is in many ways a really good candidate. Mm-hmm. On paper, he's great. Mm-hmm. Poor kid, Latino who grew up, went to Harvard, went into the Marines, did his service time, fought for our country, came back. Great resume. It's easy to like him. I think it's also pretty easy to dislike him. But I think that, we've got a lot of similar dynamics going on here where who hasn't made up their mind about Kerry Lake? Kerry Lake has always pulled below President Trump, below a lot of people in the state. And I think that effect is getting much more of the Arpaio treatment than Donald Trump is. Like the novelty has worn off. A lot of people who, went through that last campaign, and sure, there are a lot of people who are, still going to vote with the team. We saw Governor Ducey come out. I think that there's like, but I think that we've had a long time of Kerry Lake too, and it's getting repetitive, and it's easier to tune that out and look over there and say, oh, like Ruben Gallego doesn't look so bad. Kind of like a Mark Kelly, eh? Got that service experience, moving into that centrist lane. He used to be, much more loudly liberal, I'd say.
Yeah, well, he could be. He was in an untouchable district, basically.
That was my district.
Yeah.
West Side.
It was such a heavy D district. He would really have to screw that up. That's why you started looking at the replacement for him in this race. Throughout the primaries, like who wins this primary, is essentially guaranteed a seat for as long as they want it.
Yeah. That Jeff Zink guy. I see his signs, the Republican running out there.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to win.
Isn't he
district.
running against Stanton?
Oh, I thought it was my district. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. I can't remember now.
So many names and numbers on the ballot. But yeah, I get
very
the same
long ballot.
I get the same sense too. I tend to agree with that. I've thought heading into the election, you heard for a lot from the insiders, like, oh, Ruben's way too liberal and this and that. Like, do voters know this? No.
Yeah,
they're not going to know.
You remember Ruben when he was in the legislature in 2008? Of course.
Yeah, right. No, it's different. It just, again, on paper, he's got a very compelling story to tell.
Yeah.
That whole growing up in Chicago, the military.
The ads, it's repeat. I slept on the floor as a kid doing any job I could. I was a janitor. Like, that's hard to not be like, wow, cool.
Yeah, one of us.
Yeah.
One of us. Well. And he goes to Harvard and does that thing. He's got a very compelling story to tell, and they've stayed, with that message, which I think is smart campaigning, not getting too much into the into the mud with the name calling and stuff like that.
But we've still got our debate coming up.
I cannot wait for that debate.
I think there's going to be some name calling in that debate.
There will be some fun with that debate because those of us who remember the campaign from 2 years ago, Kerry Lake basically ran on debates.
Yeah.
On her opponent not debating,
that was a lot of fun, honestly.
I got to tell you, man, that showed some political skill, intentional or not, from her side to turn and transform a gubernatorial race into a debate about debates.
Honestly, I thought she ran an excellent campaign. Like, there was no moment that she did not exploit and maximize through that entire campaign. And, like, obviously she lost. She'll tell you differently, but I still think that it was one of the better and more savvy campaigns I've ever seen. And I remember, like, right after the debate, they held the press conference outside of Cronkite. Like,
Oh, yeah, the entire media world show. It was like 300 press people.
It was the most reporters I've ever seen. And, like, 2/3, 3/4, 4/5 of them were Cronkite students. But, like, well played, Carrie Lake. Hosted outside of Cronkite.
100%.
All the kids come down. You have a huge crowd.
100%. And it
With
was
the chicken. Wasn't there a chicken at one of those? Like, they were just so over the toply absurd that, like, the TV visuals were excellent. Like,
where are they now?
I don't know.
Where are they now? Well,
I still remember the chicken stuff.
And
so.
it's a different feel for this campaign. I think you touched on that earlier. It feels repetitive. It feels trite.
And it feels like she's fakely watering herself down. Like she has been told 1,000,000 times by 100,000 consultants at this point, I'm sure, don't do that, don't say that. And it shows, I'm not saying she like has backed off of that, but there's like this
maybe recently, not early on in this campaign, she kept shooting herself in the foot. Because, like, I get the feeling like, Carrie Lake is told, like, shut up about this. Don't talk about this. Stay on message with this. But she will do whatever she can to win over the room, whatever room she's in, and whatever message it takes, she wants to win the room over.
Yeah.
Which is
very much a live performer.
Yeah,
in that way.
I mean, very much. I mean, we know a lot of politicians like that. They don't want to leave a room until they've got everybody behind them. But like she kept shooting herself, particularly she's been all over the place on abortion.
Yeah.
And other issues. And again, you said, exploit and maximize. She's not doing that this time. Now, is that a fact that they're unable to execute, or is it a fact that Gallego is running a smart campaign and not giving them opportunities to do that?
Well, I think that like exploiting and executing was a great, they ran the campaign they wanted to run really well. I don't think that was not a winning campaign. They executed the tactics they set out to execute really well, but I think that this time those tactics have not won, probably will not win, and I think there's some desire by the people around her, certainly, and even seemingly by Carrie, to repaint herself as, Mama Bear. Yeah,
that phrase again.
Yeah, but it was a good pivot. Yeah. It was kind of like recentering things in a way. But yeah, there's no taking the Carrie out of Carrie Lake.
And maybe she's like, or maybe she's starting to hold back more because she admitted fault in that Richard case, and that's a serious. I mean, that could be a serious blow to her personally, financially.
Yeah.
We don't know how that's going to turn out.
Well, if she's in the U.S. Senate, she'll be fine. All those people are crooked. They have huge bank accounts and just pay the fines, Nobody walks out of the U.S. Senate broke. Come on.
Let's talk a little bit about, we got two key congressional races. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to that, but like
1 and 6.
You see 1 and 6. Schweikert and Siscomani are the incumbents, Republicans. Are they going to hold?
I don't know. All right, you're going to put me on the spot for a prediction here.
Yep.
1 hold, 6 flips. I just made that up. I don't know. I think either of them could go either way. I think Schweikert has shown a resilience. Despite his district not being super Trumpy, he has continued to hold that thing. It is a centrist, upper class district where as long as you're not, declaring elections stolen, burning books, talking about, DEI all the time. Like he talks about the issues that matter to his voters. It's taxes, it's immigration, it's the border.
Yeah.
And I think that puts him in a position where it's hard to knock him out. He's got longevity over there. He is the sign king. You cannot drive around without seeing literally David Schweikert out there, like slamming in one of his own signs.
He's like a glitch in the Matrix. It's like, how am I seeing him hammer in every one of these signs?
The last stop. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think this is the best opportunity Democrats have of flipping because they have elected in their primary the most Republican Democrat that possible, which I think is a strength of Amish Shaw, former state lawmaker, and I think is a strength for him. It was a weakness they had to overcome in the primary, but all of a sudden that becomes like a really strong point for him.
For sure.
And so can he get the finances? I mean, he's going to have the finances. Can he work hard enough? Walking the district was good enough for a crowded primary. You're going to need more than that just to knock on doors, which Amish Shah did.
He knocked on my parents' door.
Yeah, I know. If you live in that district, he knocked on your door. Is that going to be enough this time around? It seems like, your feet can only take you so far, and you need that money and that message to go beyond that. And will that be there in that district? I don't know. Schweikert knows that district better than anybody. He wins election after election. I mean, 9, 10 million ethics complaints or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Like
he wins.
half of his campaign money last election went to paying his lawyers over that thing.
Doesn't
and
matter. He wins.
He
wins elections. So it's interesting.
Well, but also, abortion on the ballot, Donald Trump on the ballot, Democrats heightened, riled up to the max that they have been in a really long time. I agree. If it's going to happen, now's a good year for it to happen. Yeah. But
I know, man.
What's Predict It say? Do you ever play the political betting markets?
No. We should get us an 8-ball.
What?
An 8-ball. The
little shaker one.
What did you think I meant?
I thought you meant the future seeing 8 balls. Of course. Come on.
Oh boy.
It's going to be a fast podcast next time.
This might be the last podcast.
I'm glad to get you canceled. That's what I'm here for.
And let's wrap up with this. The legislature, big picture. I think heading into the year, I was a little more bullish that Democrats could take control. I'm less bullish on that, particularly in the Senate, where they suffered a major setback with Watsack losing her primary, the Republican Watsack losing her primary there. I thought she was imminently vulnerable, the most vulnerable Republican in the Senate, and they need to pick up a couple seats to take Democrats need to pick up a couple seats to take control of that body. What are your thoughts?
I did a whole breakdown of the Senate races and the House races, trying to guesstimate, okay, what are our predictions, Cook political prediction style of each of these competitive races, and then, kind of tallied it. And what I came up with was Democrats pick up 1 seat in the Senate and tie it. The House stays the same. But that was also before this Michael Way stuff started happening out in Queen Creek. Yeah. There's a Republican, the 2 Republicans on the ballot for this very Republican district out there in the Far East Valley. It very much appears that the Freedom Caucus did not like one of the Republicans, is now challenging his candidacy. Oh, it's Friday. We're supposed to get a ruling by today.
No, there you go.
Look that up while you're... Should check on that. But either today or on Monday, we're supposed to get a ruling from the judge saying, can this guy stay on the ballot? If he's not on the ballot, Democrats almost certainly win a blood red seat just by nature of having a Democrat on the ballot and only having 1 Republican for 2 seats. Yeah. And that could put the House to a 30-30 split. So we could very much, I'm really hoping, honestly, this is kind of the best possible outcome. Split House, split Senate. I think that would be pure chaos. Great for us in the news business. The newsletters write themselves. The laws do not.
Yeah, I know. Right? It splits. Then it becomes who's Speaker, who's Senate President,
who's cutting deals.
Ooh, how about split House, split Senate? You have a Republican Speaker, Democratic president.
Ooh. John Kavanaugh commented on our website the other day, we could just do 1 year and 1 year. And I was like, actually, that's not a bad idea. 1 year the Republicans get to put up their own speaker. 1 year the Democrats get to put up their own speaker. There's all sorts of crazy ways this could shake out because there really are no rules on this. It's whoever cuts the most creative deal. So that's the world I want to live in.
That's the thing about Kavanaugh. The guy's unavoidable for comment sometimes. And then you go through every year with the legislature, the first month is dominated by Kavanaugh news.
It's only Kavanaugh news. Yeah, it's great. Great.
It's just
what animals are we protecting this year?
Yeah,
John,
or
rabbits.
He'll introduce a bill just to get attention. So, John, why do you want to ban the semicolon? Just stuff like that. And, but he comes up with some stuff like that every now and then. You're like, hey, it's pretty reasonable. And then
I feel like we've talked about John Kavanaugh every time I've sat at this table somehow.
probably,
Just
probably.
because that is how omnipresent the man is.
and I'll probably regret saying this, but one of the funnier lawmakers.
Oh, definitely.
The guy's like legit funny.
Yeah. A lot of those people have no sense of humor whatsoever, but John Kavanaugh doesn't have that problem, at least.
No, he's got other problems. That ain't one of them.
What are they, though? Could you give us a detailed list? John may be listening. If not, we'll post it in the agenda.
Well,
where
he's got problems with homeless people.
Yes, he does.
He a lot.
Fountain Hills is just crawling with them. They're making the hike from Scottsdale, where
It has
there's
been-
public transportation, walking
is
the
like
extra 30 miles to
The
enjoy
people
that fountain.
experiencing homelessness is his muse for his legislation. Because how many bills have they inspired him?
Yeah.
You know,
Panhandling bill a year, I feel like. We've been cracking down on panhandling as long as I've been alive.
Are his muse. All right, let's wrap up with this. We talked a little bit before this, just because I always find this funny. Every 4 years we get a presidential election, and then every 4 years we also get like a slew of books afterward with great titles about Game Changer and
You know,
Shattered.
I'm just going to say the title that you proposed,
Yes.
which is Bullets, Biden, and Border Czar?
And
was it?
Border Czar.
Border Czar. That is actually a good title for the book of the summer of 2024.
with the subtitle being the summer of 2024 transformed American politics forever.
Forever.
You got to be like super dramatic with stuff like that. So
We have seasons in the agenda. Whenever I take a month-long break, we just declare that's the end of season 3, starting season 4. And
I
season
like it.
4 is the election and its consequences.
oh, I like it.
Now playing.
I like it.
ArizonaAgenda.com.
I like it. I like it.
Finally got my plug in here.
You got a plug.
The
You got a
bolo
plug.
tie does
Yeah, bolo
help.
tie.
I didn't bring you any swag
Yeah, no.
today.
I was gonna say I still got your coffee mug.
I notice you don't have it on the table.
No,
I don't know why I'm buying coffee mugs.
We're not
for
allowed
you.
to. We're not allowed to have drinking receptacles on the table.
What's that, Dennis? Oh, you didn't put it on the table.
They don't want us to have mugs or anything like that on the table that could be shown on TV.
Oh, for like actually the logos?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
There you go. There you go. Well, you're fine. Donating time is fine, so I appreciate that.
I'm going to bring my own mug. They can't stop me.
All right, man. I think we're going to have to wrap up.
You've
here.
lost 2/3 of the readership by now. We should have wrapped up a minute ago.
I know. I know. Let's wrap up right there. I'll ask you one last question.
Fire.
Alcoholic drink of choice after a hard day putting together the newsletter.
The funny thing is I like do drinking with politician events and like we make jokes about it.
This is why I'm asking.
I don't drink.
Really?
No.
I did not know that about
Yeah.
you. I thought, I swear to God, I've had a beer
Oh,
with
I
you.
drink, but only because it's required of the job. Like I don't have booze at my house. I don't,
okay. Okay.
I don't drink beer because it's disgusting.
Oh.
But if I am drinking on the job, which is the only way to drink, it's going to be like a bullet bourbon probably.
Okay.
One of those big fancy ice cubes from someplace nice, Not the places I drink usually. They just come with the little
Beer.
crushed ice.
Disgusting. I didn't realize you were that un-American.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like too carbonated, it's a lot. And I'm hitting that age where I don't even get drunk. I just get hungover. Like I can go straight into hungover, and that is the worst feeling, I'm like, I don't even get the fun of this unless I like chug.
You get all the pain without the party.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I want to wind up in the back of a cop car if I'm going to feel like this. All right, we should have ended it earlier.
I think on that note,
good times. Good
we'll
times.
we'll wrap it up right there. As always, man, thanks for stopping by here.
Anytime.
Always a great time. And welcome back for the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. As always, joined by the producer extraordinaire, Colin Stan. Colin.
Always a pleasure. Good to be here.
Another great week in Arizona politics. And man, Hank is always one hell of a guest, isn't he?
Hank is fun. Hank is fun. His quest to get you fired hasn't worked yet.
Yet.
We'll see.
We'll see when this drops Sunday.
Yeah. The note from HR will be there waiting for you on Monday morning.
So obviously we're going to talk about, as we referred to in the first segment, fall sport ball is heating up, football.
Yeah.
We're going to do our outrageous NFL picks.
Sure.
And should they truly be outrageous? Or should
I'm
they be
guessing they
serious?
won't be very outrageous.
Okay.
I'm guessing they're pretty pedestrian NFL picks, but it's hard to promote pedestrian NFL picks. So.
Okay, so about 20 seconds ago, I decided we should start a new segment every week because everybody loves hearing your opinions.
Sure.
You're probably much more popular than I am because you talk a lot less than I do.
I do.
And we can call this Colin's political play of the week.
Yeah.
Okay. God, I wish we should come up with a themes. That'll be future podcasts. We'll come up with some theme songs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like sitting back here, you're producing all this news, watching all this stuff. What was the moment this week that stood out for you?
The one that stands out to me right now is just Carrie Lake being on the sidelines for a Texas A&M game. What was that? Is she trying to nail down the Texas A&M fan vote? The cadets? Their little
not a lot of Arizona
brown
voters
shirt
out there.
cosplay that they've got going on.
What's the city that the Texas city?
It's College Station, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of Arizona voters.
A lot
in
of
College
Arizona
Station?
voters there. I don't know if she's just trying to swim in the wake of Ted Cruz and his popularity. It just seemed like a really weird move. And it also made me wonder if she does the same thing at ASU or U of A, what kind of reaction does she get?
Does she build up a streak if she was to show up to Arizona sporting events like Ted Cruz has in Texas? Because apparently
the cooler.
Yeah.
Ted the cooler.
Because apparently, and I'm by no means an aficionado, so save your emails and whatevers if I get this wrong. But my understanding is that when Ted Cruz shows up to a Texas sport ball event, that team loses.
They lose. Goes to a baseball game, they lose. Goes to a basketball game, they lose. He goes to a football game. It's bad enough that the Texas A&M fans are talking about getting him season tickets to the University of Texas. So he can go screw them up and leave A&M alone.
Well, judging by the way things are going right now, after November, Carrie will have a lot of time to attend sporting events in Texas or Arizona.
Polls are not looking all that positive, are they?
They're
not looking good.
They're not Carrie friendly right now.
No, they're not. Apart from her internal polls, which I'm told look great.
Yeah, her internal polls that show her with a healthy, a stout lead of 1.
Yeah.
With a massive margin of error.
And the last few polls I've seen have been, I think, 7, 11, or 15 for Gallego.
Yeah. They're at or near double digit, like everything we're seeing coming in, whether it's registered voters or likely voters. It's nearly double digit.
Yeah.
Not great for her. So that's it, man. Your political play of the week is Carrie Lake heading out to College Station to go hang out with Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just sort of mystifying.
Yeah, you should be out there, trying to get votes.
You would think.
Yeah, at least get them out to vote, since the name of the game anymore isn't persuadable voters. It's getting your people out to the polls.
Yes. Figures to be the single key in all of this.
Yeah. So let's make a hard pivot from, it's not that hard of a pivot. We're talking about college football. Let's talk. Let's pivot now. Let's talk football.
Yeah.
Geez.
Since we were talking college, were you happy with Iowa?
I was amazed, and the second half of the Iowa game, the first half of the Iowa game, I was texting people.
Look familiar.
I was like, man, this is so familiar. Same old Iowa.
Yeah.
Showing up and, throwing out 6 whole points in the first half against the Division II school.
Yeah.
But no, I was stoked. Second half, it just, opened up. I think some of it was the starting quarterback hadn't played since October because of an injury. So you can make the argument maybe there was a little ring rust there, if I can mix sports metaphors there. And they looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
Oregon, on the other hand, your team, you cannot say the same to that.
No. It was a really, really strange game because if you look at statistically, Oregon was phenomenal offensively. It was like 31 first downs and racking up yardage and yada yada, and then they beat Idaho 24-14. They were like 43-point favorites, won by 10. It was a frustrating game to watch. This week they've got Boise State, and the hope is they, look a little better than they looked against Idaho.
Was this a trap game?
I don't know. It was weird.
There's such a thing like week 1 trap games.
Yeah. I mean, it's not often that you come into the season ranked number 3 and you win your opener and drop to number 7.
Yeah.
But I get it. They looked awful.
No, yeah. Well, Iowa's got Iowa State this week. It's always that rivalry game always makes me nervous. I hate watching that. When I was a kid growing up, Iowa always used to trounce Iowa State. But then about 20 years ago, Iowa State started deciding, well, we've had enough of that, and they started winning and being competitive, and I hate that shit.
Now I assume that's the big rivalry game or a big rivalry game for Iowa.
Yeah,
and it feels a little weird that it's the second game of the year, but they're not in the same conference. So now Oregon's facing that because the big season-ending rivalry is Oregon State.
The Civil War, right?
And then 2020 hit, and they decided that Civil War was not a term they wanted to use anymore.
Was it the War of Oregon Aggression?
They've tried a bunch, and they've sort of, I don't think they settled on anything, and people still mostly call it the Civil War.
Yeah.
People have tried like Platypus Bowl because it kind of looks like a beaver and it kind of looks like a duck, which I don't mind. But yeah, anyway, so that's always been the season ender. They're not in the same conference anymore, so they had to scramble to get a non-conference. So I think that's next week. We get Oregon State, which just that's a weird week 3 game.
Yeah, I think Iowa's Big Ten rival is Nebraska. They always play last.
Sorry, just
Nebraska's going to be a lot better.
Almighty, man. Nebraska versus Iowa.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I know. Lots of
old-timey football there.
Lots of running and defense.
Yeah.
If you're into defense and
do you see like many forward passes in that game?
I see attempts at forward passing.
Okay. Batted down at the line of scrimmage.
It's a lot of defense. And, those assholes out there like, I miss the old defense went by. Like, go watch. Go watch some of these defensive games. It's not great television.
Nope. I mean, and Iowa had a pretty good record last year, right?
They won 10 games.
Yeah. And they were unwatchable.
Yeah, unwatchable.
Yeah.
I mean, even I would find myself wanting to tune out because these things. These 2 years ago, Iowa won a game against South Dakota State, an FCS school, 7-3, and did not score a touchdown. How did they get 7 points, you might ask? Well, that's a great question.
Oh, no.
2 safeties and a field goal. That's how they won.
Yeah. No, I don't need to watch that.
No, it's bad television, man.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, football, sports, sport ball, it's all a television show.
Yeah.
And the best sports television show there is out there is football.
Yeah. No, that's like newspaper football there.
Yeah,
that's not TV football.
Oh God, it was just brutal.
Right.
Brutal.
So
NFL, man, outrageous predictions.
All right, Super Bowl pick?
You want my serious pick or my outrageous pick?
Yeah, give me both. That's fine.
Outrageous pick? It's the Arizona Cardinals, man. They're going to shock the world, dude.
Cool. All right. Let's
Super
go
Bowl
with the
pick.
reasonable one.
The reasonable one is I'm going chalk with this one as all the gamblers that using gambling technology going chalk. I mean, how can you pick against the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, it was it's
hard to do.
I mean, if you watch the game, Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback.
Yes.
Reed is a great coach, and when you get into those playoff scenarios, you got to beat that, and it's just hard to do. I don't see any reason why that's going to change. Kansas City is not going to be in danger of missing the playoffs.
No.
They'll probably. I mean, last year was the first time Mahomes played a playoff game on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, even that doesn't stop them.
No.
So I would imagine they're going to have a great record again this year. Have some home field stuff, and be back in the Super Bowl, and they'll do their three-peat.
Yeah.
You?
I'm going to go with the Houston Texans over the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now
Texans
I don't know if it's
very good.
Okay, that's not outrageous, but that is bold.
It's a little bold. Here, the Chiefs, it's so hard to three-peat. It just doesn't get done, which doesn't mean they won't do it. But the positive for the Chiefs is I think they've gotten a little more balanced. I think they've got better receivers than they had. They all get a little older. Kelsey's a little older. The defense is, I don't know. I don't necessarily think the Ravens are going to be that great. They might be. They might be very good. But they were about a quarter inch of a toe from possibly winning that game last night.
Well, there's one way to look at it, quarter inch of a toe of possibly winning that game. Or also, like, he just blew two wide open receivers in the 2 plays before that.
Yes, there is that too. I'm not sure the Chiefs are going to have that effective a running game. They ran Pacheco into the ground. He only had like 40 yards.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think the Texans look pretty good. I think that's going to be a solid option. I was talking, and on the other side, I kept trying to talk myself into the Lions, and I just can't do it. I can't predict success for the Detroit Lions. No. So the other side of it's the Niners, the Lions, or the Packers to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to pick the Lions, as I said before, because they have 2 instrumental pieces that are from Iowa.
Yeah,
I think was it Laporta?
The
Hawkinson.
The tight end.
Yeah, Laporta.
Yeah, Sam Laporta.
Laporta is with Detroit.
Yeah,
and Jack Campbell, linebacker,
right.
Jack Campbell with Detroit. But it's hard for me watching football for a long time to even fathom Detroit being good.
It is, because they're never good.
I mean, they're so far from good.
and this team looks terrific. They've been very good. I'm just not ready to pick them to go to the Super Bowl yet. The thing with the Niners is if you look at the talent they have, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The receivers, they've got McCaffrey. If everyone stays healthy, they could easily win it. I'm not that sold on Brock Purdy.
I'm not either. I mean, it seems like you could put a lot of quarterbacks in that situation. They're going to succeed. My question is, if you run the counterfactual on that, does Brock Purdy lift any other team? If you were to take him out of the 49ers and put him, say, with the Cardinals, or with the Texans, I mean, do you think Brock Purdy would take the Texans to the Super Bowl?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I don't know.
MVP pick?
I mean, I struggled with this one.
Yeah.
I struggled with this one. But, I mean, Lamar Jackson won it last year, right?
He did.
And I always think that Patrick Mahomes is going to always suffers because of his own success.
Yeah.
Like, he can throw for 4,500 yards, 40 touchdowns. And you're like, that's what he does.
Yeah.
But I kind of think this might be the year he does it again, though.
Certainly could.
He gets the MVP. I'm pretty bullish on all the Chiefs stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd probably have to go with Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP. Okay. You?
I'm leaning C.J. Stroud with Houston.
That's a good pick, yeah.
Yeah.
People like the new narrative, they like the new story.
Yes.
Again, there could be a lot of...
It's starting to feel like there's a push for Josh Allen to get serious consideration, and he doesn't have any receivers. So, I mean, if they can put together a great year throwing to whoever the hell he's going to throw the ball to.
Well, and is Allen going to stay on the field? I mean, that guy's a really physical quarterback, and physical by, he likes to run the ball and not slide.
Yeah. He's also an enormous, he's built. He's a guy who can take that, but even at that, you can only take so much before things start breaking.
Yeah.
He's also a guy where if he's gotten way better about this, but he could hit the panic button pretty quickly, and it got scary. If you're a Bills fan, I mean, when that dude panics, it's like the throw cross body across the field to a lineman type stuff. It's and again, that was early in his career, but you take away his targets, you lose a Stephon Diggs. If they've got question marks at receiver, God knows what's going to happen. All right, one more Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. My heart wants to pick Marvin Harrison Jr.
See, that's where my head's going. I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not the standard pick, because I think everyone on earth is assuming it's Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And I struggle with,
I struggle with him meeting expectations.
He's a good quarterback, dropped into a really good situation. He's got some great receivers there. There's talent on that team. He absolutely could. I keep going back to the fact that I was, a Pac-12 guy up until its untimely demise. And he was, at best, the number 3 quarterback in the Pac-12 last year.
Yeah.
And the guy who I would argue is the best quarterback in the Pac-12 this year is a starting quarterback in the NFL this year. And
Your guy.
Yeah, Bo Nix. And I think he would be my dark horse for Rookie of the Year, just because I think he's going to fit the offense really well. And I think people wildly underestimate him.
Yeah. No, I struggle with Williams meeting expectations.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw someone on ESPN, one of the talking heads, predict the Bears to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I was like, holy.
And I mean, they've got the talent, but I mean, I don't know if they have that talent. They've got talent. They've put good receivers around him. I'm a big Rome Odunze guy. They got him in the draft. They've upgraded at receiver. It's not inconceivable, but I ain't going there with a rookie quarterback.
And it's Chicago.
Oof. Yeah, it ain't 1985. Jim McMahon's not walking through that door.
Well, even in 1985, it's like they didn't have. I mean, McMahon was a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, he was. He was not a very good quarterback. He was good enough with that defense.
That defense, I mean, come on, man. I mean, Harbaugh, I think, was on that team or was drafted the next year. He could have won a Super Bowl in that '86 team.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
I don't think we've done any prep on this. Who wins the number 1 draft pick? Who's the worst team in the NFL?
Oh,
this year?
wow.
I'm going to go the Las Vegas Raiders. I think they're going to be absolute dog shit.
Yeah. That's
That's
a pretty solid choice.
Yeah.
They've I would be a little bit inclined to go Chargers, except that they've got Harbaugh now.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a Duck. I'm a huge Justin Herbert guy.
Yeah.
But they took away everyone who can catch a pass on that team. But Harbaugh likes to run. They'll probably have a decent running offense. So the Chargers may not be quite as dire as I fear they're going to be. Yeah, the Raiders have nothing, including. I mean, who?
I don't even know who they're starting at quarterback right now.
I think it's Blaine Gabbert, isn't it?
Boy, that's
or not Blaine Gabbert.
Bortles. Not Blake. Blake
Bortles
Minshew.
back. It's Gardner Minshew.
Oh, good.
Stupid mustache.
Oh, yeah. Who is a solid backup quarterback.
Yeah, he's a guy who will come in. Your starter gets hurt. Minshew comes in for a game, and you go, he's not that bad. And then the second game, you go, when's number 1 coming back?
Yes.
Can he?
He's
can
a
he walk?
solid backup.
Yeah.
I mean, he would dominate the old XFL.
Yes. Yeah, he would.
And I want to be clear, all of these athletes are so far superior to anybody I've ever met or myself.
Yeah.
But for this level,
the NFL has come to a place where you need an elite quarterback, or at least a quarterback who can do certain things and won't screw up.
No.
And if you don't have that, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure over the course of 17 games now that Gardner Minshew is that guy.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Washington State fans. I know he's your guy, but
yeah,
it's not going to happen. Last question, or maybe the last question, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Harbaugh magic, does it continue this year? Does it run out, or does it run out? Because he's such a weird fucking guy.
He's a weirdo. He's a weird guy. Generally, he comes in and he's successful for a few years. Yeah. He's got his whole weirdo vibe that people will buy into for 2 or 3 years. And he's a good football coach. I don't think they're going to be any good this year, but I think they'll probably be better than they should be on paper, because on paper it's a garbage fire.
Yeah.
But he knows what he's doing, and he'll motivate them in their own special way, and they'll have probably a decent running attack and will eke out a few wins. Mm-hmm. If they can get any talent in there over the next couple seasons, then yeah, they can probably be pretty good then. But he tends to wear out his welcome pretty quickly. I mean, he was at Michigan for a while, And I don't know that he lasted that long anywhere else. Everyone's sort of happy to see him go after a few seasons.
Yeah, but once he started, stealing signs and beating Ohio State, and
I'm curious to see if he goes back to the appearance of a normal human being, because like he went to Michigan and suddenly it was this weird ball coach cosplay.
Yeah.
It was the Michigan hat and the sunglasses and the whistle around his neck, and he looked like someone playing a football coach in like a high school play.
Yeah, he looked like he was playing Bo Schembechler, his old ball coach.
It's just, I mean, now that he's away from Michigan, does he become just like a coach again and not the old ball coach?
I have no idea. So there's a new Netflix documentary on the signs that were Michigan stealing. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it yet.
As an Iowa fan, I was just like completely irked when the guy that's Connor Stallion. God, you couldn't make that name up.
No, it's such a straight up porn name.
Connor Stallion. It's the guy who was stealing signs or deciphering signs or whatever.
Videotaping the signs,
all that stuff, right? He got the game ball for when Michigan beat Iowa.
Yeah.
And it's just so irksome.
Yeah.
I was like, did you really fucking need to steal signs to beat Iowa? They had no offense, bro.
No. Right. When they signal this, that means it's going to be a 2-yard run up the middle. When you hear the quarterback yell, "Hey!" it's going to be a 2-yard run to soft center.
I mean, it was just like, I was just so irked by it. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah. And there was such a quality of, we're cheating. Kiss my ass. What are you going to do about it?
I know, right? There's apologists out there. It's just.
And Michigan tends to be, not to generalize, but a pretentious bunch when it comes to their football support.
When it comes to football, like pretty much anything, Michigan is like they're. I mean, it's a solid academic university. Their student body is a lot smarter than Ohio State's. There, I said it. It's harder to get into, and there's a bit of pretension there.
Yeah,
but they broke the rules.
Yeah. Yes.
I hold them with the same
absurdly,
kind of
obviously,
and
clumsily.
And go watch that the documentary. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
He's got his own defense. I don't know if I buy it all, but it's not a lot different than what the Astros did.
No, it's really not.
With the garbage cans.
Yeah.
And
just lacking that cool banging on a garbage can touch.
I mean, it's just you needed to steal the signs for Iowa, dude.
Yeah, I don't.
I think they went. It was the Big Ten championship game. I think they beat Iowa like 36-0 that year. Like, I'm sure he's probably still stealing signs in the fourth quarter. They're up 30-0. Like, hey, student body right.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Here's the signal for another incomplete pass.
All right, man. I think we've done enough damage here today. Thanks for playing along and listening along, everybody. We'll check you out next week.
See you then.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.